Okay, a couple things I'd like to start with. Um, One is you need to be hard on yourself as a trader. You need to be hard on yourself to a healthy degree. Okay, not in an unhealthy way. I used to be way too hard on myself. That's kind of my tendency. Um, and it was actually less productive than trying to be a good coach to myself, like I might try to be with one of you guys in AGM or whatever, or one of my desk traders or whatever. Uh, so, unless you're tuning in here and you weren't with us earlier today, I'm pretty, displeased with some decisions that I made today trading, and I'm going to be hard on myself, but I'm going to be fair with myself. And then I'm also going to move forward. I'm going to move on from it. And I'm going to show up tomorrow with a clean slate, ready to be aggressive, ready to do my thing. Right. So, anyways, I just wanted to speak to that because you're seeing from me today, essentially, let myself down, as we might call it. And you guys at various points in your trading, are going to let yourself down. You're going to feel bad about what you did. You're not going to be happy with it, regardless of the outcome, right? And as it should be. So anyways, I just wanted to speak to that a little bit before we hop into the review, because it's important. The way you speak to yourself, the way that you handle setback, the way that you handle mistakes and whatnot. So hopefully you're going to get some insight today into how I pick apart perhaps what went wrong. Now, did I make more good decisions today or more bad decisions today? If we add up all the trading decisions to start, even maybe starting with prep, I made a lot more really good decisions today than bad decisions. There was one sequence in which I messed up, and unfortunately, it cost me the day. I did make a substantial chunk back. Not to focus on P&L, but I always like to let you guys know kind of during the intensive where we're at in terms of risk units. And I made about 2.2 R on this guy here. So we ended up down 1.8 R for the session, which, given how egregious kind of the trading was through this sequence here, or the longs that I took were, it's really not bad. It's not very difficult for me to make up 1.8 R, right? I can do that, more than that on the next scalp I take tomorrow. So I say that not to focus on the P&L, but to, number one, be transparent with you guys throughout the intensive. And to, number two, let you know how powerful you're not hearing me talk about win percent, because I don't care about win percent, right? Unless it becomes a real big problem in someone's trading, and it's a hurdle. And there's things in their trading, which is why your win percent's 20%, because the selectivity sucks, or the narrative sucks, or you're never in rhythm, or you're always trading from the middle of DVA like I did, blah, blah, blah. All my trades from the extremes of DVA had a really fighting chance of winning, and the trades that I took from the middle of DVA had no shot, right? So anyways, what I was trying to make a point, what point was I making? I don't know. If you guys remember where I was in that thought before I started talking about middle of DVA, let me know in the chat. I'll pick it up where I was, but otherwise I've moved on. We got some people typing. Listening was apparently listening. Did more good than bad today. I think I kind of covered that point as much as I wanted to. Yes, thank you. Now we're at it, Savas. So not focusing on win percent. When you structure your trading around good risk reward and you do the things skill wise, process wise, everything to skew risk reward in your favor, whether it's aligning with narrative, whether it's timing with rhythm, whether it's assessing order flow, the risk reward is what I feel like is like the thing that saves me. It keeps me afloat as a trader. It keeps me, when I'm trading okay and market conditions are okay, it keeps me from being in a drawdown, right? So 1.8 R or essentially a break even day yesterday. We're one trade away from, again, don't mistake what I'm saying here for some kind of focus on, oh, P&L, we want to be green. There is a little bit of that I deal with when I'm performing in front of you guys. That's my problem. I want to make sure you guys hear it from me, the mentalities we should have and the way we should be thinking about things, while also it's okay to talk about P&L. But when I read a trader's review and they're saying, oh, I was up here and I lost here and I made this much money there and I lost this here, it's like, hey, your review, you're focused on P&L. And that's not what we're going to do today. I haven't even started the review with you here. I'm just saying some things. So with that said, let's start the review. I took a little bit of time, kind of while I was in the long position there into the close to kind of start piecing together a bit of the review, just to kind of have some of the work done and make our time efficient here. So let me just read this to you here. So kind of sometimes in my reviews, I like to just start with like a brain dump, just a summary. Here's how I feel about it overall, blah, 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 and then get into more of the nitty gritty of what we did and different things like that. So I lost sight of my best idea today, right? It's not that I had an A+ idea, but we clearly had, like, this was a screenshot from pre-market, right? This was 1, this is 2, a couple different 3s, and this is 4. I lost sight of that today. I got caught in a mentality of, I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to objectively assess what happened to me today. I got caught in a mentality of showing something advanced to you guys rather than staying with the much more totally obvious and pre-planned trade. I'm not sure if being on camera had anything to do with that. I don't even remember what I wrote here, but it feels like it was a factor when I searched my motivations for those actions that I took. Besides that, I was definitely too blinded. I remember what I was focused on, and I could go back and probably look at the recording too, and you guys can as well. I remember being focused on the order flow and how those buyers were taking control and had been in control. And I decided to narrow my focus for some bizarre reason on yesterday's volume profile. And I remember saying, hey guys, I know the level's 4,007. I'm going to lower it because that's kind of where there's this edge of this volume distribution, which wasn't a part of the plan, wasn't a part of the prep. It was almost me rationalizing, I think, that motivation to do something advanced. So anyways, it's odd how that just popped in my head and I went with it. Definitely anticipatory thinking that that bear level would fail. And, I kind of did this a little bit yesterday. I think I may shift my process goal going for tomorrow. And this is insane. I can't tell you the last time my process goal has been to have good acceptance for my trades, but that's 2 days in a row. And that's 2 days too many where I've hopped in front of the acceptance. I can't believe it. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to move on, but it's, it's wild. Absolute amateur hour. That's, we could strike that out. That's a little harsh. This is kind of my nature, how I like to talk to myself. So that's not really important part of the review. But like I said, like I started out with, and I actually didn't ever finish the point because I take all these roundabout points when I talk, you should be hard on yourself. If you make mistakes that are obvious mistakes to your trading, that are mistakes to make, and you're just okay with it, you're not going to make it. you are not going to make it. I've never seen a trader that had that type of complacency with known mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes you don't know about, right? You don't know what you don't know. You get into advanced group mentoring, something's pointed out to you. Oh, I didn't even know that I was seeing that wrongly, blah, blah, blah. That's nothing to feel bad about. That's learning process. That's just good, positive stuff. Just keep moving forward. But when you know the mistake and you repeat the mistake and you make the mistakes, it should sting you on the inside. It should make you walk around and pace, or whatever. Like, it should be upsetting. I firmly believe that. Every really strong trader that I know is that way. Not saying everyone has to be the same, but that is my anecdotal evidence that I'll share with you. One additional factor could have been this old issue that I used to deal with at times, which is kind of this reverse because I missed something thing. So I have a small suspicion that this was a component of what happened. Haven't done this in a long time. Just goes to show you can never be too careful with some of your patterns, even if they haven't shown it up in a long time. So I remember, we could go listen to the recording, but I remember passing on the reentry right here. And I remember speaking to you guys saying you could stay aggressive and you could take the trade again right here. And then boom, the bottom drops out of it. I think I even laughed. When you're kind of like not happy with something and you laugh about it, like that kind of laugh. I think I did that there. I could be wrong. And then what do you know? 30 seconds later, I'm going long. That's something I used to do frequently. If I missed the real thing, I would do the opposite to just like somehow, get back at the situation for missing the situation. Again, that's not something I've done in a long time. So I'm a little confused by my behavior. I am chalking it up to the intensive being on camera, trying to kind of prove something, trying to do something. So I'm a little bit off my game here, but I'm focused, and I'm going to continue to fight the good fight and do my best here. A counter argument would be, well, you've done these intensives. I don't know what number intensive this is, the fourth or fifth one. I don't know. There was times where I traded live every day for 6 months, 8 months. A long time ago. So I've experienced doing this. There's been times where I've struggled with things because of being on camera and stuff. So I don't know. I'm not going to continue to overthink it and waste y'all's time talking about it, but I'm just being transparent with my own review here and the potential causes of behaviors and assessing those kind of things. So let's get into, the meat of the review here. That's kind of my summary of how I feel about today. I like the decision that we made, or that I made with the hypos, to say, you know what, given the long-term VWAP landscape, maybe prefer being short until scenario 2 or 3A, maybe that fourth scenario, which we ended up getting, but short was the play as long as we were accepting below 07, that composite value. I equally weighted those two CVAs. Otherwise, we would have been more long biased because of the recency of this CVA. But we already went through that earlier. Love the prep work. It looks really nice in hindsight. The two levels that we had are essentially high of day, low of day. The two nearest levels to where we opened, I should say, is high of day, low of day. Pretty tough to lose money when you call high of day, low of day, but we did it. Hooray. Oh yeah, I had the screenshot of this as well. So let's look at the trades taken. It's just a brief overview. First, we did kind of a continuation IPB from Hypo 1, right? It wasn't from the level, it was a continuation after we'd already rejected the level pre-market. So we went with that. 2 was an actual Hypo 1 trade. It was up into the level. I took a short there. I took one additional re-entry. Both of those were pretty quick out. Then the problematic longs, which we'll spend some time going over, a long and then a reentry. And then the short Momo entry, which, was good in terms of doing what I could in the moment. I even had an execution error there, which is, doesn't happen a lot. So I'm a little off today. It's good that I did that and recognized the situation that I could get away with that at the time, and use that tactic. But it's bad in the sense that, well, now my average price is way down here instead of where it could have been, right? I'm compromised in terms of trade location. And, I paid the price by not having a profitable, sequence throughout that. I didn't lose hardly anything because I got such good scales into the lows there, but I did add back that size and then take the stop. And then the long scalp, I'm calling it a long scalp because what was against the long into the close, the newly established weekly imbalance down. That's why I took the first scale where I did right there aggressively. And then just allowed the rest to either work or not work. And we got a nice little push across RTH DVA. Why does that look like that? I guess it was that wick right there. And then it came back and went there. Yeah. Yep. Time-based charts will look differently to you sometimes. Okay, so that's the gist of what we did. Let's, hop into a little bit more detail and go through it. So right after the open, we could either get down to this level and find something, or we could retrace to this level and find something in terms of actual hypos. But we got presented with a delta neutral, little wick above the prior high, imbalance pullback, continuation play. I was moments away from getting a better scale out, a second tier of scale outs, which I wanted and decided. I remember talking through that out loud on camera. I wanted to just get it into the -2. The order flow shifted there, the momentum shifted there. Could I have taken that second tier off when that turn started to occur, especially given the degree to which the buyers were coming in? Yes, but it's not a mistake not to do that. I was looking for something for the second tier of exits. I was actually looking for more. I really wanted a new low for the first scale and didn't get that. Didn't like the way, oh, I forgot. Yeah, there was no selling. So that's actually a great scale out. There was no selling after I entered, but price was going down. So I was very concerned about the weakness of sellers. So I took a more defensive scale. That's beautiful work there, guys. That's wonderful stuff. Adaptive, discretionary trading. Beautifully timed entry, great scale. Almost got the second scale of the 3 that I'm doing currently on real trades, and got a big reversal. Buyers take over, and we stop out of the remainder. So, slightly profitable sequence there. And so then buyers remain in control. I remember talking about how this could be viewed as absorption. It's actually a lack of any form of selling, hardly at all. If you say, well, there's some selling. Well, yeah, for how far we move down, it's just normal, maybe even still weak. It's not that much selling. So I get up to the trade location for hypo 1 and I pull the trigger, right? First turn, we go into the area, wick turn, boom, I'm in, no hesitation. It's kind of a faux, right? It's the first test of the opposite extreme. It's certainly not a faux narrative wise. It's a faux DVA wise. First test of the other side of RTH, newly developed RTH, almost to ETH. So we've got this area. We get the turn in there. Let's do it. We know buyers are in control of the tape. We're going to take the trade anyways. All right. So Why does that look so odd? Short stop. And this candle drops all the way back down here, and I just get back in, and then I scratch it even quicker prior to this ultimate stop run above this high. And then there's the reentry that I passed on and commentated on. Okay. And so now we're getting like the contextual order flow shift. I think I pointed that out in real time. And now I take the kind of the next two momentum shifts to the upside. Now we're trading against our hypo one, which is finally working. Why did we do that? So order flow had been controlled by the bulls into this area. I remember looking at the RTH chart, and I remember thinking or commentating that there could be a micro return pullback of prior value, that we could just kind of hold this and go. So when we kind of pulled back, and it's almost like an RTH imbalance pullback, we're retesting this level that I talked about, 4,004. I actually took the trade. And I remember seeing this distribution. Okay. And I remember thinking, well, we could pull back anywhere to this lower edge of this distribution, right? Which allows us to kind of stay in the trade instead of needing 4,007, which is like right here. Okay, which we obviously never got into. I said, well, hey, let's drop where we can take that general play, and let's use this lower edge of this distribution right here and the upper edge of where we traded right here. And let's kind of lean on that. I'll even allow it to wick VWAP and stay with that. So that's giving a lot of like, how do I put that? All of a sudden I'm making compromise, which is, by the way, okay to do in the world of NADRO at times, if you've got the skill set to do it and you have rationale to do it. Why do we make compromise? To get into good ideas. I'm making compromise in this moment to get into the opposite of the good idea that's setting up. Hypo one's setting up short and tells us it's starting to work, and I'm compromising things. ETH DVA location, acceptance for the main hypos, and I'm compromising right there. That's just bad. That's just bad trading. And so take it from me as an example of what not to do. It's so easy to justify your way into doing almost anything you want at any time. Make sure, like I'm at the level of in my trading where I can get away with not being like very checklist driven and doing things, because it's very rare for me to make such atrocious mistake like these longs were, I think. For you guys, more developing, newer at this, trying to figure it out, take this as a lesson in terms of how you could even talk yourself into kind of taking bad trades. And it sounds logical in the moment because you've got some reasons for it. Oh, order flow, and oh, look, this distribution, blah, blah, blah. And you might have some influences. I was on camera. I think there was some influence. You might have influence because you chatted up a trade buddy and said, hey, I think this is a long, and now you feel like you own it and you gotta stick with it or something, right? Use me as an example today, making the mistakes I did, as to how important it needs to be that you have a firm process that you're following. all the way into kind of a checklist that you're following. Is this a trade that's one of my hypos, right? AKA, do I have a narrative there? Do I have the acceptance picture there, right? If I would have used a checklist like that, and I didn't allow myself the discretion that I tend to allow myself, which by the way, fluctuates over time. I allow myself so much discretion that I start to screw up and I have to bring that back. And then I don't allow myself discretion. So I kind of miss out on some things that I'm really able to participate in and see. And so I move the needle, and I'm constantly finding my middle ground in terms of discretion. That's a part of my trading right now. So this is a case for me where I allowed too much discretion and I made what would be a silly mistake for one of my AGM students, right? In the sake of being more advanced and more discretionary. That's the price I pay at times for that. So anyways, I hope this makes a whole lot of sense of not only where I'm coming from with some things that I did there, but also how they can apply to you and how you can use this as a warning to be very, very careful with. If you're about to take a trade, you need to check off that the priorities for you for a good trade, the minimum critical requirements for a good trade for you, by the way, need to be documented before you're trading. And then while you're trading, you need to make sure these 3 things that are a minimum for a good trade for me, they're all present. So now I give myself the all clear to be aggressive and go trade. It's an easy fix. I'm not worried about not being able to read acceptance tomorrow, right? That's not something that's going to be a problem for me. These other factors that lead me to kind of get too smart for my own britches, to give you an Alabama saying, are what I have to work on right now. So the longs were crap, and the short was nice, not because we took some profits from it, but because it was a nice advanced breaking through delta neutral, really, really strong selling on the tape, fast speed of the tape. This is the condition in which I can get away with that. Normally, shorting, what are we shorting into the -1.5, shorting out of rhythm. It doesn't work, guys. It's not a positive expectancy way to trade. This is a situation in which it was based on what I'm talking about. Aligning with the narrative, speed of the tape, the momentum, the stop run potential just below where I got in, and the order flow, strong order flow at my back. Execution error, fixed it when I got back down there, scaled really nicely, and then scaled heavily when it turned, right? Because I'm compromised from where I'm in from. Decided that I could keep this on as almost like a core, give it a little more room in terms of a stop because I scaled so heavily, and actually try to work some ads on the more, real trades, right? So the first one I tried was the breakdown of this momentum shift, right? With the little wick. Tried it there, quickly out, not working. And then we come up and I forget why I took this one. Maybe it's just a little wick and it started to turn. I don't remember. I remember it wasn't a bad decision. And I remember thinking, though, and saying that we could continue to trade a little higher. So I didn't full add. I kind of half added. And then I put the remainder of the add on once we got the actual test and turn right there. They kind of ramped it into here and turned the order flow again in front of delta neutral. Very nice. Feels good. Feels like a great place. This little flaggy thing could easily break down and finish this move, which we were looking for, right? Which we didn't get until 4 hours later, but that's what the market was trying to do. It just couldn't accomplish it at that time. So I love the ads. I love the no scale out, in hindsight, there could have been some form of scaling, but that would have been really quick, right? We had this really nice rhythm that we were establishing, and, new low, I think, would have been the very first place to scale, and then, into here. So I don't mind no scales there. I don't mind giving it room to maybe continue to wick and see if we can pop back through delta neutral. Well, I was out before then, but obviously once we hold that and you know, the trade is absolutely over. So I was already out, but just for teaching purposes. And then the afternoon long. So we reach this destination. Okay, are we going to get hypo? I forget the numbers, but you know, 2 below here, or are we going to get 4 here? Someone pointed out the order flow. I think it was Trader Biku. Take a look at this divergence, guys. They slam it into this low right here, and look how much further price is headed down without the selling, right? In fact, this was a passive sell program that ran this. This was the capitulation where they dumped it, and that's all she wrote. Now it's strong buyers, weak sellers, and this is an advanced play you can take. And this is to micro, okay? And this is the real trade that I took. Advanced, micro, real trade. Obviously would have been better if I took it there. You know, I took, you know, just a small amount of heat if you take it there, you know, but whatever. I saw a bit of a shift right there. It kind of wicked these lows right here, this little cluster, wicked them and turned. So I went with it, gave it a little more room. Beautiful scale here into the dissonant weekly imbalance. And then flattened into RTH development value area high on a and 10K reversal. And that's the day. That is the day. Really, the more I look at it in detail, as I kind of alluded to early on, some really good trading with just one atrocious sequence there that you know, really screwed up the day from being, you know, a 5R day perhaps with the trade into the close. It is what it is. Made some mistakes. We've covered them thoroughly. I've assessed my innermost thoughts and emotions around them. And what are we ready to do now? Let it all go. Show up fresh as a daisy tomorrow, ready to be my best. The levels on the delta chart are not deviations. They're just areas that I tend to like to watch. They're just fixed levels like 0 and whatnot. All right, guys. You know, tough day. But again, a lot of positives about the trading, and great narrative reading. And yeah, we'll come back tomorrow, knock them out. Take care. Have a great evening. We'll see you all in the morning.